In this video, I'll show you the best box of plastic Traitor guard models that you can get for the best price. The Damned by Wargames Atlantic. Buying an army for tabletop wargaming doesn't have to be expensive. There are lots of ways to build a big force for cheap, and I love inexpensive models. This is a new box from the folks over at Wargames Atlantic, and I love and own a lot of models from Wargames Atlantic. I also love the idea of traitor soldiers corrupted by, like, whatever. It doesn't really matter, you know? Like, they're a really fun modeling opportunity for kit bashing or whatever, and they're also just kind of fun to think about from a lore perspective if you're, if you're thinking about that kind of thing. And you're starting to see more models to kind of fill that niche in the 3D printing space, but now there's some plastics too. Several years ago, I heard about a crowdfunding campaign for plastic Traitor infantry from the folks over at Wargames Atlantic. Like I said, I already own a lot of their excellent kits, which are amazing for like just normal building, but also for kit bashing as well. So I hopped onto the crowdfunding for this project called The Damned because it just frankly looked great. Also, I recently made a video about the incredible news about the founder of Wargames Atlantic and his history, Pachow, and I felt good about backing the project because of it. It did have some technical problems, the project did, and some delays, but I did finally get my sprues. The models are great, and I used a bunch in a relatively recent video I did about painting sci-fi models with, like, historical paints, Pachow. But I didn't want to do a video just about the models, the Damned, until the models were available, to everyone, not just people who backed the crowdfunding campaign, a year or more plus ago. Several months after I finally got my sprues, this army box finally came out and is available to buy now. Now, full disclosure, I bought this army box myself with my own dollary dues. They didn't send it to me for free or anything like that. And I also bought the crowdfund models a few years ago as well. I maybe have a little bit of a problem. Why did I buy the army box if I already had a big corrugated cardboard box full of sprues from the crowdfunding campaign? Well, because I wanted to do a video about the army box. It's a great value and more people should know about it. Spoiler, it's $90 for 52 miniatures. $90. Also, I just wanted more of the models, for reasons. So let's take a quick look at what's included and not included in the box. All right, so let's take a look at the outside of the box and such like that. The Damned Army, it says right there. And you'll notice at the top it says Death Fields. Death Fields is kind of a line of models that the folks at Wargames Atlantic have been working on for a while. And they're also working on their own game as well. So if you wanted to have a game that was attached to all of the different Death Fields models that they've been making for years now, this being some of the newest ones, that's something you might want to take a look at. I haven't frankly taken a look at it yet, but I probably ought to. But you'll notice it says Death Fields at the top, but it's the Damned Army down here. 52 multi-part hard plastic 28mm figures, heavy weapons, and artillery. So if we flip it over and look at the back, ready for the apocalypse is the battle cry of the Damned, a fearsome opponent on the artificial battlefields of the Death Fields circuit. The Death Fields is kind of like it's like a war that's a sporting event kind of thing. Not like Blood Bowl, but it's like there's battles and then they're filmed and people watch them in the future, something like that. I, again, should probably look into it a little bit more. But, there's a little bit of fluff here about radiation, chemicals, poor air quality. They wear their scars as a mark of pride and fight out and waiting for the galactic apocalypse as they are certain will happen at any moment. I mean, it's cool kind of, behind the scenes sort of stuff. But what you're going to get is 18 infantry, 12 female infantry, so there's both male and female models in here. There's 6 brutes who are big kind of, not orcs necessarily, maybe more like ogre type folks, right? There's 3 heavy weapons teams. There's an artillery unit. There's 8 crew and a full command team. So we've got like command team pictures here. Here we've got, you know, a bunch of models and things like that. We've got some of the big, heavy, like the weapons placements, like weapons, you know, emplacements and things like that. Looks like one of them's a plasma one. One of them's like a double barrel something or other, and that one looks a little bit more just like a howitzer type thing. We've got some female infantry down here, and then again, like I said, some of the brutes. Another interesting thing, where does it say it? Right here. I can't see it. It says made in the USA. Believe me when I say that. I can't see my monitor to see if it's in the shot. It does. Right there we go. Yeah. So made in the USA. These are produced here in the States. Now, the way that they work over at Wargames Atlantic is, I think, really unique. They make a mold, right? And they're very expensive steel molds and all that kind of stuff. It's a very expensive process. And then they have two facilities where they produce the actual plastics. One in the States, I believe it's somewhere outside of Atlanta in Georgia. And then the other one is in the UK. So they will make a bunch of plastics over in the UK, package up the mold, and then ship it over across the ocean to the United States. And then they will get produced over there as well. So that helps with it just helps them a whole bunch. It helps with tariffs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, these models are produced in the United States, at least because I bought them in the United States. If you buy them in the UK, the box will probably say UK. Anyway, let's take a look and see what's inside. It turns out it's a whole bunch of sprues, which I, kind of figured we would have assumed. These are crew. These are some of the crew that load like the vehicle, not the vehicles. They load the artillery and all that kind of stuff. You can tell because of the giant honking shell, and the giant magazine for like the autocannon and stuff like that. So this is 2 sprues, which comes to 8 guys because you can see torso, 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 torso. And so and these are identical. So you get 8 crew to help load your guns. This one here is a command one, and it'll say on it sometimes. Yep. The damned command right there. Boom. So this one is also got, you've got a command ogre, but you've also got you got a command lady, command dude, you got a big cool flag you can paint, a bunch of stuff. There are 5 models, I think, on this. But there are 1, 2, 3. There's far more heads. You're going to find that with most of the Wargames Atlantic models is that you'll have let's say 6 models on a sprue, but there'll be 18 heads. So when you buy stuff from Wargames Atlantic, expect to have leftover heads for all the head swaps and kit bashing you want to do down the road in the future. Here is a sprue of stuff for, come on, focus. There you go. Here's a sprue of stuff for the gun emplacements. Again, you can see one that's kind of a plasma, one that's got a big barrel, one that's got like a double barrel that's maybe some sort of autocannon-y type thing, feeding with the ammo, the tripods, like all that cool stuff. Here's the other one that's got the blast shields on the front and all that kind of stuff. They've got detailing and all that kind of stuff. These old-timey sort of wheels, I think. They make me laugh. I like the old-timey wheels. This is just regular old infantry. So yeah, here we go. The damned infantry. So this is just the normal infantry models. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bodies in a sprue, and then, like I said, a ton of heads. Here's 6 heads, here's 6 more heads, here's 6 more heads, and here's 6 more heads. So that's like 24 heads for 6 guys. So you're going to have a lot of leftover heads. You've got flamethrowers to choose from. That thing maybe looks almost like a bit of a melt-a-gun, but a lot of the guns, frankly, kind of look like, if we can get close, a lot of them kind of look like they've been wrapped in rags, and a lot of them look kind of like AK-47s, or maybe space AK-47s. I don't know what that means. But there's something here that looks a little plasma-y. And there's, of course, extra grenades and pouches and all the little accoutrements and all that kind of stuff. All of that's on that sprue. And I think we get 2 sprues, or I think we get more than that. Don't we? We get 3 sprues because I said 18. So there's 3 sprues of the infantry. And then here's a sprue of the brutes, as they call them, which are kind of the big ogre-looking folk, right? There's 2 sprues of those, so you get 6 of those. right? Okay. And then last is 2 sprues of the female infantry. So they are, a little bit smaller, but they also still have lots and lots of different choices for things. You've got different weapons, you've got things you can sling, you've got lots and lots of heads. You also got lots of ponytails too, so you know that they're ladies. But yeah, there's a lot of different helmets and options and things you can do with these. And again, 2 sprues of those. Now, here's 2 things that are missing from the box. One is instructions, and that's because it's not really hard. The way that they work is that they're generally numbered. If you have a gun that's in the right hand and it says R6, then you're looking for generally L6 for the left hand, and that's the one that kind of goes together generally. The heads go where the heads go. The torsos and the legs are all one piece, so that makes it pretty simple as well. It's not difficult to build. We're not talking about GW models here where you're like, I have no idea which part of the wrist this is on this 12th guy and like all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of a pain. The other thing you don't see in the box is bases. They did not ship with any bases. Now for me, that's fine because I generally prefer to use the normal kind of GW style kind of beveled black bases with that sort of texture on top. Some people will 3D print their bases. I see a lot of people doing that with just regular old FDM, printers, like the filament type printers. And you can buy bases lots of places online. But I've found in the past, in a lot of the game, the stuff that they've sold, they do come with bases, but they're these really kind of flat-sided, really thin little bases without any place for a magnet or anything like that. And I have a tendency not to use those personally, so I don't know. The thing that's really interesting about these models, I find, is that these are scaled to fit along with a lot of other models out there. So I've used these models already in conjunction with Stargrave, plastics, where I put like I take a Stargrave body and I put a bunch of the plastics from the Damned onto them, and maybe even a head as well. Or you can go the other way around and put Stargrave or even Frostgrave. You can definitely go down that road too. Frostgrave bodies and then give them, the Damned arms, or you could give the Damned bodies and give them Stargrave or Frostgrave arms or whatever. These guys are really easy to kit bash, especially with a lot of other plastics out there. Now, again, like I said, probably not so much with Games Workshop for 2 reasons. Number one is these days Games Workshop models have a tendency to be kind of scaling up and getting bigger and bigger, so that's always kind of a bit of an issue when you're trying to, mix and mash on a same model. But the other thing that's interesting too that I've been finding is that the way that GW models go together these days, if you want to kit bash a GW model, it's almost always better to actually put the model together and then start cutting the parts apart if you want to put them onto other parts. Because like an arm could be 2 to 3 pieces, and trying to go and look at this, and we go, well, how, it's just, yeah. So if you are using stuff from North Star Military Figures, aka Stargrave Plastics, Frostgrave Plastics, if you're using anything from any of the rest of the plastics that our friends at Wargames Atlantic make, they'll all pretty much work together as well. Now, the ogres, obviously, I wouldn't put a normal size head on an ogre. That'd be weird. But, maybe it'd be kind of cool too. I don't know. But for the most part, all the rest of the models in here are designed to work with all the rest of the models that are in the Damned line, and also, like I said, the other stuff that they make over there at Wargames Atlantic. And as I've tested it out, it even works really well with the stuff from Stargrave, so, or even Frostgrave or whatever. I think that the Frostgrave Barbarian bodies and then giving them a bunch of the extra weapons you don't use from your Damned guys would also work really well because they would just look more ragged, potentially slightly more damned. I think that I could definitely see building a warband that way too. That'd be really cool. So it's a lot of models. It's a lot of plastic. You get, like I said, 52 total models for $90, and it's a pretty good deal. The detail is nice. Is it as absolutely razor sharp as, say, Games Workshop? Not necessarily, but it's still got a lot of detail. There's a lot going on in there, and they paint up nicely. Like I said, I painted some up for that video I did a while back about the Army Painter historical colors and using them in sci-fi models, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. And obviously I am, because I bought more after having an entire giant honking cardboard box of them. So that's the Damned from Wargames Atlantic. 52 modular plastic figures that you can use to start a decent-sized army, depending on what you're playing. They've announced that the next box in the Damned line that will be available, at retail for people to purchase, will be a smaller box of just 24 of the male infantry. Just the dudes or whatever. And that'll be a smaller box. It'll be probably like 4 sprues then, I guess, because there's 6 guys per sprue. And so that should be coming soon, according to the website. I assume that they'll also be releasing the female infantry separately, because they've done that before with other models that they've done. And then probably some of the other models that were in part of the crowdfunding campaign that aren't even in this box, like the heavy infantry and also the beast infantry as well, which are really, really cool. I'll probably make videos about those when they're available separately as well. Honestly, this is a great line of models, not just for building some kind of Traitor Guard army, but also for kit bashing as well, like I said. Like all Wargames Atlantic models, you end up with so many extra heads and other parts from their kits that you'll be set for years. There's a lot of Traitor Guard out there to choose from these days, but these are the best for the money, in my opinion. What do you think? Are you interested in Traitor Guard models? Let us all know down in the comments below. And some depressmentation of the like button or the hype button on mobile, if you're on your phone, it really does help, and I always do appreciate it. While you're pushing buttons, if you're not already subscribed, there's a subscribe button. You could also hit that, which will put these videos into your feed, in theory, pretty much every single Friday. Thanks for watching.